Well, speaking of quarterbacks, yesterday there was a lot. I think there was a lot of referendums because it's the last chance we're going to get to see him. I don't think that we're in a position really where I would want to trade up and go for the gusto there. Now we'll see what actually happens here. But what did you think of Shedeur yesterday? Because I think if they had not made that last drive for the game-winning field goal, I think he would have left a lot of bad taste in a lot of people's mouths yesterday. What did you think of him?
He was abysmal. It was probably his worst performance since he's been around.
What a way to describe it.
Just not counting that half where he was thrown into the mix in the Baltimore game. That was. Did
you think he was better in the second half? I thought he was better in the second half.
Not much. I mean, he still had like 3 balls that I thought were turnover worthy in the second half. They were very lucky that Cincinnati couldn't catch any of his balls. I thought there was a span of like 7 throws where 5 of which hit Cincinnati Bengals players' hands, not Browns players' hands. Like they hit Cincinnati Bengals' hands. He was very fortunate that they were not, getting destroyed at the half.
Yeah. Based
on, Devin Bush going the distance and Cincinnati not converting, his mistakes. He was really bad. He is just, I don't know what it is. He was alluding to something in the post-game press conference that, like, last week something happened to him. He was being very cryptic.
Was he hurt?
No. Just like something in his life had messed with him. I don't know because he didn't really clarify what that was. So we're just going to speculate. But
yeah.
In the end, I just think they were going up against the 30th ranked defense. There were some metrics that had the Bengals as the worst 32nd ranked defense in the league, but DVOA they were 30th. They had 11 first downs yesterday. They had 200 yards of total offense, and they scored 6 points. It was a great final drive. I shouldn't say great. It was a good final drive. They went 40 yards and got him in position. He completed a couple nice passes. But overall, throughout the game, that is not winning quarterback play, not remotely.
What do you make of the Sal Cannella incompletion?
Yeah, that was a great throw. Yeah.
Okay. What do you make of the Isaiah Bond miss deep? Do you put that more on him? Because he's thrown that ball in to Isaiah Bond every time.
I thought that was a good throw.
I agree with you.
But I've heard people online, and we'll see what the alt-22, they said it was not a good throw at all.
But my issue with it, I'm not, is it a knockdown drag out right now for it? Probably not. I've watched him throw that pass to Isaiah Bond and anybody else numerous times. Like, that's, to me, where he always throws it to Isaiah Bond. Mm-hmm. Am I wrong? That's why I was like, I thought that was a decent throw. I just thought Isaiah Bond wasn't there to get it.
Going for the dagger, it actually worked out better because if he scores the touchdown on that play, then Cincinnati has the ball and a chance to come down for the win. This was the way that you secured the win. You drove down the field, you used up all the time, and you win the game with basically a walk-off field goal. So this worked out better.
So this is what I thought. I didn't think he was good. I thought he was better in the second half. How much better? I mean, that's arguable, but I thought he was better in the second half because it was pretty tough to be that much worse in the first half. I was glad he didn't turn the ball over. I was glad, more than he did. Obviously, there was the fumble. I know that there were a couple thrown right to Geno Stone, which a lot of people are calling him Geno Stone hands. I understand that. I think it really left a lot of people wondering, okay, what do we really do here? Because even if you were fifth, like say you wouldn't have won and you were fifth, I don't know if you got enough to move up to number 2 to go after Dante Moore. And do you really want Dante Moore that bad? What's the conversation to be had about number 1 overall? There's no conversation. You just ain't going to get it because Las Vegas owns that pick.
Did we figure out, had they have lost the last 2 games, they would have been tied for number 1, and by strength of schedule, they might have had it? Is that right, Owen?
Yeah, just looking at the numbers, right? So they'd be 3-14, just like 4 other teams that are 3-14 right now. And first tiebreaker is strength of schedule, and they have the worst strength of schedule out of those teams. And I don't think 2 games would have changed
their winning percentages.
Yes, it wouldn't have changed it that much that they would have.
So think about that.
Vegas would have jumped ahead.
If that is the case, and we'll have our crack staff on it because I'm seeing the same stuff you're seeing, Owen. If we would have the number 1 overall pick, like Myles Garrett,
it would have been Fernando Mendoza.
Myles Garrett, former number 1 overall pick and Defensive Player of the Year and Hall of Fame. Put him in right now. Shouldn't even have to wait 5 years. Best Browns player of my lifetime, and I think he's now in the argument for best Browns player ever. And that's without any hardware in the postseason. That's how great he's been in the regular season. Did he just prevent the Browns from getting the number 1 overall pick? Because the last 2 weeks, you saw it.
Well, you know what?
You saw Exactly that.
So you picked him number 1 overall to help you win games, then we can't go ripping him for helping you win games.
Oh, I'm saying he might be the reason if Mendoza ends up being great, and obviously who knows. But Myles Garrett might be the guy that prevented you for finally turning the page and getting that quarterback.
So I let me put it out there. It doesn't matter to me who the head coach is. Maybe they'll have different ideas. I think that you probably are going to go fishing for somebody else who might be a free agent.
They got to add another. Another. It has to be a competition.
Now I want to see what they do with Dillon Gabriel, because they could very well just cut ties with Dillon Gabriel, and that would make even Kevin look even worse if you wanted to do that. But if they moved right on from Dillon Gabriel, I'm open to Shedeur being one of the guys that compete for the job in 2026. Yeah. How much of it is an actual competition, though, is a question you have to ask yourself.
Yeah, you have to have a real competition.
Because to me, it's got to be not just Shedeur and Deshaun in that room in 2026. You're going to have to go fishing for somebody else there.
Yeah, he was of any of the guys that got legitimate reps, he was by far the worst quarterback of all the. Hell, Riley Leonard had a better game than him yesterday. There were a bunch of guys that started yesterday you've never heard of, and they all had higher QBRs, I think, than him, including Trey Lance was abysmal yesterday. He at least had 70 rushing yards and moved the football down the field. Shedeur was the worst.
But this is why
there's a lot of reasons. It's not just a Shedeur thing. They have to improve everything around him. But holy cow!
But this is going to bog it down, because again, later on this week, I have to show you they're right here. And I got to show you the grading scale that I was tinkering with yesterday, because when you're in week 18, you're going to experiment with some stuff. So I experimented with it. Also, I'm getting some pushback that I said I still want to see Shedeur in 2026. I want to see more Shedeur in 2026. I said I think that they should probably go and kick tires on veterans. And whoever they bring in to be the head coach, you can't just put his arms behind his back and tie him up and say, it's only Shedeur, it's only Deshaun.
Yeah, I'm with you.
In that room. If we're going to be openly and brutally honest about this, I think that he can get better through an offseason. I'm not saying, some people accused me of saying we found the guy. I don't think we found the guy.
I don't know how anybody could possibly, unless you're in the Shedeur fan club.
2:00 will happen today, so we'll find out later on.
Yeah, I don't know how anybody could look at this body of work and assume that you have the foundational quarterback piece.
I agree. Anybody who's serious. I don't think anybody who's serious could. There's always going to be outliers out there that I can't address. But I know I'm in a position where I don't want to. I got 10 picks. Do I want to give up all those picks to try to move up? I don't. I really don't. I don't think number 1 is for sale. So if number 1 is not for sale, then I'm not moving up for Fernando Mendoza. I know that there's a lot of conversation about Dante Moore. I'm still worried about going and making that big of a decision for Dante Moore, but we got 4 months to chew it up on that one, right?
Yeah, it's not a lock. It's certainly not a guy that you have to run up to the stage and hand in the card and do the trade up for.
But I'm thinking, all right, if I got 10 picks here, am I going to address the offensive line? I should. Am I going to address the wide receiver room? Well, I should. So if those things are going to be addressed and should be better, because it's hard to be any worse than this. And I'll give Mike Bloomgren credit, because you brought up the stats of where the protection rate was as good as it's been all year long. I'll give credit where it's due.
I wonder if that surprises the Shedeur people, because they've just been saying worst offensive line in the league.
It's not a great offensive line.
And I'm like, well, there's like 20 other fan bases that do think that every week. They watch their team play. And we've played some of those teams, and you're like, oh my God, which offensive line would you have rather had yesterday, the Bengals or the Browns?
Yeah.
Ask Joe Burrow. I think the Browns actually held up in pass protection better. It's just Shedeur takes so many sacks.
I know that some of you guys are tired of having the knockdown dragouts on the internet with bots or whatever, or trolls. It doesn't matter to me. I'm looking at it for what it is. I think that there is some good play that you can build off of. I'm not convinced. I'm not convinced at all. I'm just trying to be as open-minded as I can. I'm not very open-minded about Dillon Gabriel, I have to admit. Go ahead and sue me on that one. But when it comes to Shedeur, I'm a little bit more open-minded. This was not a good football game for him. It was not. But I do think it can be a little bit better going into next year when you do have some more offensive linemen, when you do have some better weapons to throw to. You have another year with Harold Fannin. I think it can be better. But I'm not throwing all my eggs into that basket. I understand that there is other options available. You still have Deshaun Watson there that you're paying $46 million, so that saga isn't going to end anytime soon. And then, we aren't going anywhere, and you said right off the tippy top of your head, it's probably going to be about a 5-win season going into next year, then you will have options. Because at this point, hell, I wouldn't mind running it back with another trade next year or this coming draft and getting another pick for the next year to be able to make sure we do it. Because I might as well try to go after the position at some point here so we're sure. See, I think there were a lot of people, and I warned you about this. I think there were so many people who were just so damn afraid of QBs that they didn't want to talk about it, and then they saw what happened yesterday, and they go, oh my God, we can't go into next year with it. No. If you were making that argument, you had to make that argument that you were open-minded to Shedeur. I can't be closed-minded towards him. I do think he's better than a 5th-round pick. Do I think he's a first-round choice? No. Yeah, and does that mean that we're probably going to make him the franchise quarterback? No, the odds are against that.
I mean, honestly,
but I don't want to close the door on it.
The way that, remember when the reports came out that, I think it was Jason Lloyd was the first to have it, and then others have kind of backed it up, that their plan was to basically have him redshirt this year, which just doesn't happen in the NFL. That's so crazy to talk about, but that they thought he was a developmental quarterback. And I kind of think that's what he played like. Like, he showed flashes.
I think there was things that he developed on as time went on. Yes.
Yeah, I think that's exactly, like, you see, if you were trying to win a game, why would you call him a developmental quarterback? Because if you're trying to win games, you would not play a developmental quarterback. But if you're trying to evaluate a guy, then fine, throw a developmental quarterback in. And I thought you saw that. I thought you saw that yesterday.
And it's interesting, you mentioned Riley Leonard, and I know his knee was banged up, but there were people who questioned that when they said, well, his knee was banged up, you brought in Phillip Rivers, but then next week he was a full participant in everything. Riley Leonard was a full participant in everything. So now you have this other quarterback that's playing, this young quarterback that's playing. You have Daniel Jones coming off an Achilles injury here where you don't know what type of return he's going to have, and now you have this other rookie. It's like, why didn't you go and find out what you had, or at least
they were trying to make the playoffs
to get a look at what you had? Yeah, the Browns were doing that. So technically, the Browns did do it the right way, and like, hey, we got this guy. He does have some arm talent. He does have a bigger body. Mm-hmm. There is accuracy there. Let's see what he's got. He's proven that he's come a long way. He also proven he has a long way to go. So there's no way on earth I'm just going to say, well, it's his team and that's it for 2026. No, I can't do that. That's irresponsible considering what we just saw. But I don't think it's the craziest thing to say is that, okay, as of right now, if it's between him and Deshaun, yeah, I would start him in 2026. I would start Shedeur in 2026. If it becomes a veteran that gets mixed into this, whether it be Mac Jones or Davis Webb or Davis Mills or whoever the hell it is, well, then fine, we'll have that conversation.
Yeah, I don't think they can get
Malik Willis. You want to have that conversation? Fine, we'll do that too.
Already, I've seen people throw numbers around for him, and I'm like, oh, that's going to be out of the Browns' price range, like 20 plus million, 25 million for Malik Willis.
Well, that's where the Mac Jones conversation gets brought in because he's cheap, but that means he costs more picks, and you
don't want to give your picks away.
See, Andrew Berry has put you in such a great position, guys, where you not only don't have so many picks you can give away because you don't have a lot of players that you have to replace, or you have a lot of players that you have to replace. You also don't have a lot of money. So you have not a lot of money and a lot of players that you have to replace. But we're going to hold on to them.
Yeah, and
instead of Andrew Berry, or instead of Kevin Stefanski.
So I'm trying to be fair about Shedeur because he didn't have Fannin, he didn't have Njoku, but then I look at some of the guys that played yesterday in the NFL, and I'm like, go look at their rosters yesterday. It was preseason week in the NFL. I think Andrew Brandt compared it to week 4, preseason week 4. You know, how we used to do it in the old days. Like, it was a total joke yesterday. It was a bad day for the NFL up until last night's game, which was bonkers, and we at some point we're going to have to mention that Pittsburgh Steelers won the division. So all those feel-goods of us knocking them out of the playoffs last week didn't end up happening.
I was just happy they won.
Yeah, but a big part of it was we
you would have been happier had you have been at the game with me, but you didn't go.
I know. I'm sorry about that.
No, you're not.
But there were guys yesterday that go look at their rosters and who they were playing with, and like I said, Riley Leonard going up against the Texans defense, and they had most of their starters in yesterday for the Texans, and he kind of lit them up. Like, he played really, really well. He had a better game than Shedeur had. But basically, with the exception of the Titans game, where Shedeur had those final 2 drives. Like this, other guys are also flashing. So, yes, you can make the argument that, hey, put a better offensive line, better receivers, better coaching. But you can also say that for almost everybody. Every quarterback that's ever played would like to have those things. And Shedeur, I just think a lot of the same mistakes he was making, in the final week. He looked like a developmental quarterback. In many ways, he looked like a 5th rounder when it came to decision making. But arm talent, yeah, I think I agree with you. His arm talent is much better than a 5th round quarterback.
Yes. But I also think that there have been so many people, sorry to cut you off, there's been so many people who have been in these arguments with each other, and they just want to know yes or no one way or the other. And so if it becomes a 100% yes or no, well, then it obviously becomes a no. But that's not how this is going to work. If you had number 1 overall or even number 2 overall, maybe it would be that way. It's not going to be that way. So now I have to find where is he good at, how can I make him better, and how can I rectify some of the things he's not good at. Or are we giving calls to Green Bay? Are we giving calls to the San Francisco 49ers? Are we giving calls to the Houston Texans? Are we going to go ahead and do that? And then do we even want to do that? Because there's going to be a lot of people out there as this season gets to start in 2026 who go, I don't want to waste my time anymore. You either go to the bottom of the barrel or don't go anywhere at all. Because of who we're going to be seeing in 2026 who are still going to be in college.
But I will say, it's tough because you don't want to squander too many more. Well, you don't want to squander any years of Denzel and Miles' prime. But, that clock is ticking, and I know that he just... will Myles Garrett ever be better than he was this year?
No.
Now, it's hard to doubt him.
He can be almost as good, though.
Right? Yeah, it's hard to doubt that at all.
Yes.
But I imagine next year he will not be as good as he was this year. Well, and then where does that curve really start to nosedive? At what age? And is Myles Garrett... And this window that we've talked about... When do we start to think oh boy, they totally squandered, the prime of those unbelievable players?